Slow Wi-Fi generates more terrible advice than almost any other problem in tech. When a video buffers for the 5th time, it is incredibly tempting to reach for a quick fix, like wrapping antennas in aluminum foil or buying a $60 gadget that promises to instantly blast a signal through your entire house. The truth about those internet accelerator apps on your phone is that they do absolutely nothing to radio waves. They are ad delivery vehicles wearing a speedometer. And those cheap plug-in Wi-Fi repeaters often have fine print quietly admitting they might actually cut your data speeds in half. The fixes that genuinely work don't cost anything. They are sitting right there in the physics of how Wi-Fi actually travels through a home. To run this honest playbook, you only need 4 things: a laptop, an Ethernet cable, a free Wi-Fi analyzer app, and your router's admin password. As long as your device says it's connected to the internet, getting it to load pages quickly is a solvable physics problem. It is rarely a shopping problem. Skip this first step, and you might spend an entire evening optimizing your router to solve a problem that was actually just a slow data plan from your provider. This flowchart illustrates the perfect 5-minute diagnosis. Step 1. Plug a laptop directly into the back of your router with an Ethernet cable and run a speed test. That wired number is the baseline truth, the actual speed entering your home. Compare that number to the speed listed on your monthly bill. If your wired speed is far below what you are paying for, your problem is the line outside or the plan itself. No amount of router tweaking fixes that. You need to call your provider. But if that wired speed is good, we move to the wireless test. Unplug the cable. Run the same speed test on Wi-Fi standing right next to the router, and then run it again in the room where your connection usually crawls. If it's slow everywhere, the router hardware is struggling. If it's incredibly fast next to the router but dies in the bedroom, you have a coverage issue. Now you know exactly which bottleneck you are trying to clear. Router placement is the highest impact-free fix that exists. It works because it respects the physical properties of radio waves. This 3D wireframe shows how a router actually broadcasts. Wi-Fi radiates outward in all directions like a pulsing bubble. It weakens with distance, and it weakens with every obstacle it has to punch through. When you leave a router at the far end of the house, you are wasting half of that bubble on your neighbor's yard. The rule is simple: central, elevated, and open. Move the hardware to the middle of the home and put it on a shelf. Signal spreads sideways and slightly downwards, so getting it off the floor maximizes your coverage area. You also need to keep it away from the signal killers. Metal surfaces, like refrigerators and filing cabinets, reflect the signal outright. Water heavily absorbs radio waves, which means fish tanks and large houseplants act like massive blockers, casting dark Wi-Fi shadows directly behind them. Skip the windowsill, which just broadcasts your bandwidth to the street. And keep it away from the microwave oven, which actively shouts over the 2.4 GHz band every time you heat up leftovers. 10 minutes of moving your router out of a cabinet and into an optimal spot effortlessly beats any gadget you could buy. Your router almost certainly broadcasts on multiple frequency bands at the same time. The problem is that your devices frequently camp out on the wrong one. The 2.4 GHz band travels the furthest and punches through thick walls the best. But it is incredibly slow, and it shares that airspace with Bluetooth devices, microwaves, and every neighbor on your street. The 5 GHz and newer 6 GHz bands are the opposite. They offer massive speed upgrades and mostly empty bandwidth, but they suffer from poor range and weak wall penetration. Here is the golden rule for allocating those lanes. High-demand hardware sitting near the router, your TV, your console, and your work laptop, belongs on 5 or 6 GHz. Distant, low-need devices, like smart plugs, wireless printers, and the front doorbell, stay on 2.4. If your devices stubbornly cling to the slow 2.4 lane, even when you're in the same room, log into your router's admin app. Turn off any setting that merges the bands, often called Smart Connect, and explicitly rename the networks so you can manually force your laptop onto the fast lane. Actively managing these traffic lanes ensures your high-performance devices are never trapped behind a smart plug slowly phoning home. In dense neighborhoods and apartment buildings, everyone's router tends to default to the exact same channels out of the box, creating invisible congestion. This graph represents the actual radio airspace in a typical neighborhood, as seen through a free Wi-Fi analyzer app. Notice how densely these red and orange networks overlap on the lower channels, fighting for airtime, while the higher channels remain completely empty. You want to manually select an empty channel in your admin panel, and for the 2.4 band, there is a strict rule: only use channels 1, 6, or 11. Those are the only 3 lanes that do not overlap with each other. While you are in the admin panel, do 3 quick housekeeping tasks. First, check for firmware updates. Routers don't always install performance fixes on their own. Second, turn on quality of service, or QoS, to prioritize video calls over background downloads. Finally, schedule a monthly reboot to clear out any memory leaks. And do the entire house a favor. Plug stationary, data-hungry electronics, like your gaming console, directly into the router with an Ethernet cable. Getting the heavy traffic onto a wire instantly clears up the wireless airspace for the devices that actually move around the house. If you've done the free fixes and still have a dead zone, you might need hardware. But understand the hidden flaw in cheap repeaters. A basic repeater receives and retransmits using the same radio. It listens, pauses, and then speaks. That mathematically halves the throughput for anything passing through it. If you genuinely have a massive home with multiple floors or thick masonry walls, a mesh system is the legitimate alternative. Multiple nodes work together to form one seamless, full-speed network. Just remember the critical placement rule for a mesh node. Place it halfway between the main router and your dead zone. If you put the node directly inside the dead zone, it has no signal to catch in the first place. And if you are buying a completely new router today, check the pricing carefully. Wi-Fi 7 routers have recently broken the sub-$100 barrier, meaning you no longer have to pay a massive premium to get the newest standards efficiency gains over Wi-Fi 6. Just keep in mind that spending real money is only justified for true physical coverage gaps. A $200 mesh system is a very expensive band-aid if your real problem is just a router shoved into a corner closet. Now that you've optimized the placement and cleared the channels, walk back into the room that used to give you trouble and run one final speed test on your phone. That snappy, instantaneous loading is what a completely unobstructed connection feels like when it flows freely through your home. Getting a fast connection isn't about buying the most expensive hardware on the shelf. It's about intelligent placement, managing your frequencies, and letting the physics work for you. If this guide saved you from buying a useless booster gadget, hit the like button. Share it with whoever complains most about the network in your house, and subscribe for more honest, no-nonsense tech guides.